Welcome, sweet friends, to the channel Frugal Money Saver. My name is Emmy, my husband is Paul. We're an early retirement, debt and mortgage-free couple living in the state of New York, and we basically show you how to live a full, abundant life while spending less money. And today's video, we are going to step back in time a little bit. Today is Tuesday, which means it's viewer's choice or challenge. And this is another highly requested video. We get a lot of emails asking if you all can see some of my vintage cookbooks that I have collected through the years. Now, you need to understand that I do not spend a big amount of money on these cookbooks. The most I spend is maybe a couple dollars. It's like a treasure hunt to find them. I don't go on eBay and spend $30, $40, not at all. And a lot of them have been gifted to me, as you'll see today. This is just a really fun and what we hope is an informative video to give you a glimpse back into the past, how wonderful the older cookbooks are in the sense of encouraging you to use up leftovers, sharing new recipes with you, how to not waste food, how to meal plan. There was so much whole foods cooking back then. These cookbooks are right up our alley. First thing though, I have to preface this video by saying is that because these are older cookbooks, the modern food safety standards were not what they are today. So while reading these cookbooks or following a recipe, please use today's modern food safety standards for cooking, storing food, preserving food, cross-contamination, all those really good things we all know about today. Please, you need to do that with these older cookbooks. Let's dive in to some retro fun. The first cookbook we are going to look at is from 1916. It is the Boston Cooking School Cookbook. This one is amazing because it has techniques in it. It explains everything in detail. It is a very thorough cookbook for the year 1916. So let's turn the camera around and get into our first flip through and review of a retro cookbook. The first cookbook we're going to be looking at is the Boston Cooking School Cookbook. Fannie Merritt Farmer. Does that sound familiar? Fannie Farmer Cookbook? That was a very popular cookbook back in the day. This book was sent to me by a dear subscriber. It's copyright 1916. This book, that is very different than the other cookbooks I'll be showing you, deals with food and cooking as more of a science than a pleasurable pastime. It seems like at the turn of the century, this era was very concerned about the scientific value of cooking and how to go about it, how we need to nourish our body. And I believe the Boston Cooking School would mean that this was sort of a textbook. I'm assuming because that's almost how it reads. Food is cooked to develop new flavors, to make it more palatable and digestible, and to destroy microorganisms for cooking. There are three essential beside the materials to be cooked: heat, air, and moisture. The bread recipes are amazing. As I'm looking through this book, a lot of different flours. We have wheat flour, rye meal, graham. There's oat bread. So a lot of different grains were used to prepare bread, whereas you will see in the more modern cookbooks, they tend to focus on more of a white flour diet. So again, getting back to the whole cooking aspect, this cookbook would be amazing. Biscuits, breakfast cakes, and shortcakes. And then they discuss what a batter is. Batter is a mixture of flour and liquid combined with other ingredients. So it's a very technical book, and I love it for that. This is so intriguing. A group of kitchen utensils. This is the basics of the basics. We've got a mortar and pestle. We have got some frying pans, some hand beaters. We all remember those. whisks, what looks like a glass juicer here. I'm assuming this would be a meat grinder. Your basic cooking utensils. This book is classic. I also noticed as I was going through this cookbook, there was a lot of meat used that we do not eat today. Well, at least here in New York, we don't eat a lot of this meat. Now, maybe throughout the country, and I'd be curious, please let me know down below if you eat any of these. But we have tripe, we have tongue, we have the heart, we have ox joints. Now, I am not familiar with any of these cuts of meat, nor would I know how to cook them. But back then, this was commonplace. I see this in more and more of the older cookbooks. And I am assuming it's because you wasted nothing then. These are some breakfast menus: watermelon slices, scrambled eggs, biscuits, coffee. That sounds real good. Blackberries, cereal, breakfast bacon, hash brown potatoes. These are pretty traditional. They look lovely. And then in the back of this book, I loved this. I had never seen this before. Advertisements: baker's chocolate, blue wrapper, yellow label, royal baking powder, pure flavoring extracts, Schlotterbeck and Foss. Have you tried the new Nesna dessert? Made in a jiffy. It looks good, it tastes good, it is good. 6 flavors. Makes a delicious dessert or smooth, velvety ice cream. Junket Foods from Little Falls, New York. Just a wonderful cookbook, the Boston School Cookbook. That cookbook has just such a plethora of information. But again, we want to be cautious with some of the ways they tell us to store and handle our food. The second cookbook is one that you probably are familiar with. One of my absolute favorites. I bought this cookbook years ago, before anyone really knew that this cookbook would be such a vintage hit as it is today. And this is the Betty Crocker Picture Cookbook from 1950. The pictures in this cookbook, the feel of this cookbook just oozes nostalgia. It represents such a slice of Americana back in the 50s. So let's turn the camera around and get to our second review and flip through. The next cookbook we're going to look at is Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook. This is copyright 1950 General Mills. And this is actually a first edition, 7th printing. Found it at a flea market years ago. This cookbook is just charming. The graphics, everything about it. Betty Crocker is an American icon. As you get into the 50s, it is becoming more and more prevalent that they are looking at mealtime as just a wonderful time. Gather as a family, have friends over, and to make your table as attractive as you possibly can. Lots of little extras are going into these cookbooks now. How to set the table. And they give you all different ways to set your table. Look at the Technicolor pictures in this. This book just has some beautiful photos. This is one of all different types of drinks and appetizers. Here again, just a wonderful picture. This is supper in the garden. Look how they put their donuts on what I'm assuming is a little tree of donut hooks. I just love this. Now, this book is a little bit different in that you have key recipes. And these key recipes now, they give you variations of the key recipe. An example, a white nut loaf. Quick, easy to make, and inexpensive. So here is the actual key recipe. And then you come down here and it says follow the key recipe above to make fig or date nut loaf, except substitute brown sugar for the white sugar and add 3/4 cup chopped dates or figs with the nuts and increase your baking time 10 minutes. And they do it again with the whole wheat nut loaf. The same with the fruit loaf. You have your basic key recipe and then you have all different variations. In that way, this book is really unique and it has got some amazing tried and true Betty Crocker recipes. These are just such beautiful pictures. And I think as a cookbook collector, When you have graphics like this, it just immerses you even more in that era. You see this giant gingerbread cookie here? Well, we're going to turn, and there is the pattern and the way to make that giant cookie. So precious for the holidays. What a creative idea. And when you go to each page, it gives you a little bit about the section. So here's eggs, and it talks to you all about the egg, how to separate it. As we enter into the meat section of the cookbook, you're going to see again the repeat of these key recipes, which really makes this a very easy to follow cookbook. Another beautiful Technicolor full page spread. This is another wonderful vintage cookbook that really makes you feel like you are back in 1950. Is this not fun? I am having such a good time doing this with you. The third one we're going to flip through is General Foods Cookbook from 1959. This cookbook basically shows you how to be a good hostess. It throws out any unusual circumstance that you can think of for having to feed someone. From a neighbor being sick, or your teenager shows up with a bunch of friends at your house, or what to serve your guests if they come back to your house on a Friday night after a movie. Again, a slice of Americana. It is such a feel-good cookbook. This is one of my favorites. If I'm ever just having a day, I take this cookbook, sit down, and read the little anecdotes with it. Brightens me right up. Let's turn the camera around and go back to 1959. I showed this cookbook a while ago in one of the videos just briefly, but I want to share it with you again because this is hands down one of my favorites. The General Foods Kitchen Cookbook. The one cookbook you can live by in any meal situation. Copyright 1959. This cookbook is a little different. This is a cookbook designed to help you in the hundreds of everyday and special situations that call for the planning, preparing, and serving of food. It describes those situations as well as the food so that you are offered specific suggestions for what and how to serve when somebody's going to be late for dinner, or an unexpected guest turns up, or your committee chairman for the annual church supper, or hostess at an outdoor barbecue. So this not only has really fun retro recipes, but it explains every situation and how to deal with it. So the first thing this cookbook starts out with is a specific item, such as beef, pot roast, steak, Swiss steak, goulash, chopped beef stew, Swedish meatballs. Then, to go with that, some bright ideas, some special little touches you may want to add with that. So how about try savory limas in cream, served in sauce dishes with a spoon to catch every drop of the delicious juice. For a change, serve orange fruit mold as a salad instead of a dessert. So just little bright ideas, which I find absolutely charming. And then what it does is it takes that main meal and it shows you what to pair with it. What to use as an appetizer, what to use as a potato or a substitute, a vegetable, a salad, or dessert. The recipes with the asterisk are on the next pages and they will show you how to make them. But then also, very many of the other ones are in the index of the book as well. And then they will feature menus that they have put together for you. So you choose the main dish, you select 2 or more dishes from the potato vegetable salad listing, you decide on a dessert, add an appetizer, and try a bright idea. So this cookbook in that way is just wonderful. The pictures are done in glorious Technicolor. I mean, look it down even to the cherries on the pudding, the milk and cookies in the jug, just the way the young woman is dressed with her little apron on. Classic, retro, great feel. This is called a Midwest pitch-in party. Everybody brings a specialty and the result is wonderful. Look at the cakes and the pies and the beans. I'm not sure what kind of apples these are. They're all along the side of that wonderful piece of meat. Here's a beautiful fireside tea time treat. little cakes and cupcakes and your lemon with clove and the tea and roaring fire, again, immerses you in that nostalgic feel of yesterday. As you look through this book, you are going to see every situation you can think of and a quick meal that you can serve for that situation. How about let's give her a going away party, a bon voyage party for 6. Some chicken oriental with rice, asparagus, endive, some muffins, pineapple, tea, and they give you the recipe. And then you can read about every situation. When a friend or neighbor is about to leave town, either for that first glorious overseas vacation or for a permanent move to another place, the going away party is a hospitable gesture. Mother's visiting us for a few days. When the vegetable garden or the market is bursting with bounty, try a menu featuring vegetables and even carry the vegetable theme to the centerpiece. Hands down, I think one of my favorite pictures in this whole book. Even look at the little clown over here. Just such a beautiful cake. You have a popper, just the hat on his head, the bow tie, just so nostalgic. They also have a wonderful section on the holidays. Let's have the carolers in and shows you how to cook Christmas cheer for 12. Let's have the neighbors in. We're having an open house on New Year's. And again, all these recipes are included. Then there's the awesome how to rise to the occasion. One of the things that can make you believe this isn't such a bad old world after all is the wonderful way that friends and neighbors seem always to rally around when there's an illness or other emergency in the house. Mrs. Russell is sick in bed, a good neighbor lunch for 4, the unexpected guests, people who just drop in, what to keep for hurry up meals. I love this one. We saw your lights on and thought we'd drop in. After dinner visitors are likely to be flattered if you can immediately or almost supply a cup of hot coffee and a dessert sort of thing. This book just totally oozes hospitality, good nature, a welcoming spirit, and a real sense of community. As you can see, another beautiful graphic. The book is just filled with them, and one is more beautiful than the other. I hope you are enjoying our little trip down memory lane. Now, this last cookbook is quickly becoming one of my favorites. This is the 1962 version of the Culinary Art Institute Encyclopedia of Cooking. What I love about this cookbook, it gives you menu plans on top of menu plans. Those Technicolor photos whisk you back in time to almost feeling like you're sitting in the kitchen with a dear friend, having a cup of tea, looking through the cookbook together. So I'm going to turn this camera around one more time to share with you one of my absolute favorites. Here it is. One of my best friends came for a luncheon the other day, and she walked in with this book. And I have been in love with it, obsessed, over the top, since she gave it to me. It is called the Culinary Art Institute Encyclopedia Cookbook. It was first copyrighted in 1950, and I believe this is the 1962 version. What's so unique about this cookbook is it's got your tabs to show you where everything is, and when you're looking for something quickly, that's a bonus. You also have your quick reference guide right on the front, a description of every chapter and the page it's on. The first thing that made me fall in love with this cookbook is it has got a year's worth of dinners and luncheons according to months. Oh my goodness, you know me, menus and meal planning. You will look and you'll see right here, dinner in a dish is on page 356. You're going to serve it with fruit salad, cheese, toasted crackers, coffee, and milk. And all these recipes are in the back of the book. Here's February, the dinners continue. It goes to the February luncheons. Valentine luncheon, hearts of jellied tomato bouillon, whole wheat croutons, salmon in rice hearts with sour beets, strawberry mousse in a heart mold, and caramel sugar cookies. And all the other days in between, right on through July, every month, November, here we are in December, the little snowman. Now you're looking at the black and white pictures. This is filled with tons of beautiful color pictures as well. Again, these gorgeous Technicolor pictures. Also within the cookbook, you're going to find these blue pages. And these blue pages will give you hints and tips about the chapter they're talking about. So we're in eggs right now. And this will tell you what to make with extra egg whites. Do you have 1? Do you have 2? Do you have 4? And all the recipes that will use up those egg whites. No food waste when it comes to this cookbook. I'm enamored with these pictures. I'm sorry, I know you're like, but there's something about seeing a visual that represents another era. It just brings it to life, just makes it so much more abundantly clear, the feel of that time. Now, as I was telling you, this was given to me by one of my dearest friends. We grew up together. Her uncle was my godfather. Her mom and dad, I called my aunt and my uncle. It was my Aunt Alice and my Uncle Charlie. And as I was going through the cookbook, this just touched my heart. The caramel sugar cookies, good. Charlie likes. So that was a wife writing that her husband enjoyed that caramel sugar cookie. My Aunt Alice and my Uncle Charlie. So this cookbook, above and beyond, just such a sentimental, beautiful cookbook. The blue pages, again, focus on a certain aspect of the chapter, and this is service for the formal dinner. How to do a correct table setting. I know so many of us don't even think about it when we set the table, but it is nice. It takes all of an extra minute, and it looks so beautiful. Look at the elegant meal. It looks like a lamb chop, a baked potato, string beans, and a tossed salad. But look at the elegance and care. To the plating, to the table setting, to the water glasses, everything. These Technicolor pictures are truly dazzling. Another wonderful addition to my vintage cookbook collection. We hope you enjoyed this video. Paul and I sat, we went through it, we talked about each one, try to point out some high points, just to give you a feel of why we even look for them when we go to flea markets and tag sales. We get so much from them, even to the point of reading them as a novel. Not that we follow every single recipe, but because we have implemented so many simple ways from the past into our modern day life here, they're just an integral part of that every day. Just to have a little bit of time travel back. Again, I will caution you one more time to use today's modern safety food storage and handling and cooking. Today's question of the day is, what is your favorite era? For me, it is definitely the 1950s. I wasn't even born yet. I feel the way they kept their homes, the way they cooked, the appliances. They had pink appliances, refrigerator, stove. I would have been in my glory. That is definitely my favorite era. Please share what your favorite era is and why. What money-saving tips do you follow from the era of your choice? Such a fun question, and I know how creative your answers are when you share, so we thank you for this in advance. What is your favorite era, Paul?
I think I enjoyed the late 70s as a teenager and a young man growing up. Definitely had a good time in the 70s. There was a lot of freedom as a young man to explore and go out with friends and swim and fish and just do all the fun things that are out there. So yeah, I had a good time.
He was alive during his pick. I wasn't even alive in the 50s, so I guess that's pretty good. We thank you again for being here. We ask you to stay safe. We ask you to be well. And above all, we wish you blessings. Until our next video, may God bless you.